This meeting is being recorded.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Good Morning Cannabis. I have my friend Kyle Connolly, who is going to tell us some very important things that you should know when you're dealing with insurance and your cannabis companies, whether you actually have a company or you're advising a company. And Kyle, so tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, and then get right into the topic to give our folks some ideas of what they should be looking for.
Well, thank you, first of all, Todd, for having me on. I really do appreciate the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to our discussion today. So as Todd had mentioned, I'm a commercial insurance agent with East Coast Global Insurance Agency. We are a small family-run independent commercial insurance agency that specializes in placing hard-to-place risks, or specialty risks, as some people like to define it. So that kind of led me down the path of being able to offer carriers or offer coverage for carriers in the cannabis space. And that's really what, kind of tweaked my interest. And then getting more and more involved into it, going to networking events, talking to more people in the space, doing a little bit more research and digging deeper into it, I was able to find that there is a real need of a level of education in the commercial insurance space for cannabis companies. And I have a background of financial planning, so educating people about finances and how it works is a passion of mine in the past. So I was able to take that same passion and now apply it to commercial insurance. And sitting down with these cannabis owners or the CFOs or the CPAs, the controllers of the operations, and helping them understand how these policies operate, how they work, what are the different definitions or different coverages mean, and making sure that they have the product that they need that will respond based on what it is that they're doing for work. And it's no secret, this is a very new industry. And because of that, insurance carriers don't have a lot of historical data to be able to reference back to on claims history, for example, to be able to properly price these policies out. So a lot of the times the policies are more expensive than your typical general liability or property coverage, because these carriers are still trying to figure out and navigate how these claim scenarios are all going to pay out and what they're going to be on the hook for. So they're not cheap policies. And so it's important for them even more to pay attention to how these work, because they could be wasting more money than the typical business owner. They don't understand how these policies respond and if they have the right one in place or not. So it's important to work with a partner like East Coast Global in this space to make sure that you have what you need.
Tell me, Kyle, what are some of the problems that you've been seeing in insurance world, and these specifically related to these insurance cannabis coverages? I mean, what are the common themes?
Common holes that we see in some of these coverages and some of these programs, I should say, because it's a whole program at the end of the day. Your general liability, your workers' compensation, your business auto, it all comes into a commercial insurance program is what it boils down to. Where we see some gaps in coverages is when we look at the business auto side of it. So a lot of the vertical operations or a lot of wholesalers or manufacturers that are using vehicles to deliver their product, they're not insured properly in a lot of cases because they think that their personal lines carrier, their Liberty Mutual, their Travelers, the Hartford or Geico or Progressive will cover them, but they won't. One of the big things is that a personal lines policy is really not going to respond unless you have an endorsement on it for business-related activity. Never mind if it's cannabis or not. But with it being cannabis, a lot of companies don't like the exposure to that product. And even if you have a business auto policy, you need to make sure that they are aware that, that product is being transported in that vehicle. Because at the end of the day, it's not really the value of the product that concerns me with the insured. It's the liability from the medical payments that concern me for the insured. If they were to get in an accident and they were working for their wholesale operation or their vertical operation, delivering their products to their dispensary partners, and they were to get in an accident, it's not far-fetched to believe that that bill on the medical side can get to $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 really quick, if not exceed $1 million, depending on what happens. And that'll put an operation out of business. And so that's where one of the coverages that we see there's some gaps in. Another one is A lot of them like to exclude products and completed operations. And I understand from the argument standpoint, nobody's ever overdosed from smoking or consuming too much marijuana or cannabis. And that the historical and the scientific evidence is there, but that's not what we're concerned about. We're concerned about the legal ramifications that could happen. And included in the products and completed operations, is packaging. Are you confident? Are you 100% certain that at every single store that your product is in, your packaging is labeled correct and up to state standards? That's also where that products completed operation coverage is going to come in. It's going to help pay for any attorney fees if you were to be brought into a lawsuit. It's not just because the product, could kill somebody. Yet that does, we'll cover that claim, but that's not the main purpose of why we encourage people to have it. We understand that argument, but we want to protect you from the legal ramifications that could come about, and it pays for the attorney fees. It's why you have it.
And so are these special policies that need to be changed, Kyle? I mean, you're saying there's some holes that you see. Is there a solution?
It's just working with somebody who's going to go back and make sure the product is correct, and having those harder conversations. I get it from a standpoint, like I had mentioned, nobody has passed away, nobody has died from consuming too much marijuana. And that's really what the argument is on the products and completed operations. But it takes working with an agent that understands, or an agency that understands, okay, there's more to this, unraveling or unlayering the onion. That's not the top part of the onion. That's the easiest thing to recognize. But it's, digging deeper and uncovering those deeper layers to say, okay, well, what about your labeling on the packaging? What about, if somebody drags you into just a lawsuit, you don't want to pay for that out of your own pocket. You want to have your policy respond to it and pay for those attorney and legal fees, because those can add up really, really quick as well too. And so the solution to that is working with somebody who is more knowledgeable or takes the time to dig through these and have those deeper conversations with you. And not just provide you with a policy that, here, that fits your requirements from a state standpoint. Sure, from a state standpoint, you can get your license. But that doesn't mean that if somebody breaks into your facility, that you're properly covered for the crime. You probably have the right crime coverage in case you were broken into and somebody stole stuff. The state's not going to have a requirement for you need to have X amount based on what you have as product in your store. That's up to you as a business owner and up to the insurance agent to ask you those questions, to do their underwriting due diligence, and make sure that you have the coverage for what you have as your facility, whether it's a dispensary, a manufacturer, or a cultivation. Just making sure that your property is properly insured too. And those are going to be all different. Not one cultivation has the same amount in property as another one. They're all different. And that's where it comes down to working with the appropriate agency, somebody who is in the cannabis industry, understands it, can ask the proper questions, and making sure that the product is designed properly to respond. Otherwise, you're just wasting a bunch of money, and I don't know too many people that like to do that.
No, I don't either. So Kyle, that makes a lot of sense to me. How did you specifically get involved in the cannabis industry? What's your story?
So like I had explained, back in, I would say probably January 2022, January 22, started to get heavily involved in the networking part of it, down in Massachusetts, and was meeting a bunch of cultivators, dispensary owners, and manufacturers, and all in the same spot. But there wasn't a lot of professionals like myself, insurance agents, CPAs, bookkeepers, attorneys. And it was being expressed through these business owners that I want to meet these people. Why are they not here? And it really triggered in my mind that, okay, there's a need for education here from a business standpoint. They want to know, they want to learn, they want to talk and communicate with the professionals that know how to put together a business, know how to run it from a tax standpoint, and to make sure everything's going to be right. So that intrigued me to say, okay, there's a need here. These people need help. And so that led me to create my own networking group, which was more centered towards those business to business people being in the room in the cannabis industry with the dispensary owners, cultivators, and the manufacturers. And so building that networking group and then being able to help and get back, that's really where I see, there's an opportunity here, like I said, from an education standpoint. And what really made me interested in the cannabis industry was that opportunity to be able to give back and to be able to help these business owners and be able to help out all these other professionals at the same time. And the cannabis industry is unique in which I kind of call it its own ecosystem, its own economy. They have its own little nuances that other industries don't have. You have your own banking system, you have your own payroll system, you have your own specialty accountants and attorneys. So it presents that opportunity. And that's where I created the networking group. And then I also was able to turn that around to be able to help these business owners, but also help out the other local professionals as well too, to make sure that their business can be sustainable and last, not just, go through 2 or 3 really good years, but once pricing got tighter, once competition started to enter, things would get tougher. If you're not tight on your books, I know as Sachs Accounting understands, then you're going to end up failing as a business owner. You're not going to be able to adjust to price adjustments, which are going to constantly happen, and they're just getting quicker and quicker in the cannabis industry. So it's important to be working with the right professionals. And that's where, I got my idea for the cannabis networking group, but also to give back and to be able to help. It's a very welcoming community, and it's a very wanting to give back community. And that's what my mindset is as working, as being a networker, is being able to help people and connect people and get them to where they want to be.
Awesome. So Kyle, if people wanted to connect with you or with your company, what's the best way for them to do that?
The best way for them to do that would either be going on to our website, which is www.ecgillc.com. You'd be able to get contact information for myself and for the owner and for the agency there, or they can reach directly out to us. Phone number is 603-842-5968. They can send me an email, which is kylec@ecgillc.com. I do oversee the cannabis side of it here at ECG. And they would be able to get in touch with me either way. But we also do work nationwide. We're not just in Maine or Massachusetts. That's where most of our clients are, but we can work in California, Colorado, Washington State. We work down in Florida, Texas. There's no boundaries for who we can work with.
There you go. That's great. So Kyle, thank you so much for being on Good Morning Cannabis. And we'll be touching base throughout the year, but just wanted to wish you and everyone who's listening a great day, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Todd. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on Good Morning Cannabis. It was a great time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.